Hello everyone, and welcome to the Lazy Dragon Investor Show. Today we're going to be reviewing the annual report from Activision Blizzard. My name is Harlan Bea, and I'm here to help us all become better long-term investors. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping items. I'm an individual investor, and these are my own opinions. I'm not speaking on behalf of any companies I work for or manage. I probably own shares of most of the companies I'm going to discuss on my shows, so I do not recommend you buy or sell any of the stocks I discuss. Remember, always do your own research before you make decisions on your own investments. So, with that out of the way, let's kick off today's discussion of Activision Blizzard. So, I've got a lot of opinions. And one of my sort of deeply held beliefs is that we should be doing a better job as a society teaching everyone how to invest, how to understand investing, how to build themselves financial freedom, and not to think of investing as something, you do to prepare for retirement, something you do to prepare to do a particular thing. I feel like it's something everybody should be doing all the time. And investing is something that sort of spans the entire range of human activities, from going to school and learning, investing your time and effort into becoming a better person, investing your money so that it can make you money later on, investing your time to research, what kind of vehicle you might want to get, or what kind of public transit you might want to vote for your city, or all kinds of different things, right? So we as people have to make constant decisions on where we put our money and where we put our effort, where we put our time. The most important thing that we have, most important resource we have, right, is our time. And with that in mind, I've always had this idea that ever since I was a little kid and I started seeing the business pages with all the numbers by all the stocks, they used to do this. They used to, history for all those of you who are younger, who are like new, and you're like, I'm on Robinhood, yay, I can see everything all the time. It didn't used to be that way. It used to be that they would print out the list of the top, I guess it was like similar to the S&P 500. They took popular stocks, well-traded stocks, and they would actually print out the prior day's opening and closing and that sort of thing in the newspaper, in the business section, if you got the LA Times or New York Times or something like that. And that was what you could see. And so I was looking at this as a little kid. I would like read the comics, and then I would look at the the dollar values of closing things, and it was this mystical sort of bizarre but miraculous sort of situation where I'm like, oh wow, this used to be worth $20 and now it's worth $40 this year only. Like, I could have doubled my money if somehow I had the ability to actually invest in whatever this company was. And then I would see companies losing money and all kinds of stuff, and I saw like little ticker symbols in there that I could not make out. I could not figure out what they actually meant, because they didn't do a really good job of explaining. They didn't have a lot of print space, and it was like really tiny font. So into this mystical sort of finance arena, I sort of plunged in my 20s as I started to learn about it, as I started to work, and I started to realize, hey, I need to start planning for my retirement. And apparently the way we're being forced to do it in the United States is you basically have to take care of it on your own. Social Security will only get you so far, right? So my goal for this show is to help try to bridge the gap between what people are getting from business media, which is a lot of this happened today, this happened today, this happened today, a lot of news coming from all different sources, and never really diving deep into examining particular stocks, particular industries. And I also think that there's a lack of examples out there, right? Like you can go out to Twitch, and you can watch gamers actually play, and while they're playing, they will tell you what they're doing. Afterwards, they'll review their match, and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I should have done this here. I should have done that there. These are the things that I'm working on as a player. These are the things that you could do if you want to work on additional exercises as a player." And for me, there are very few outlets that actually try to do this. Very few investing outlets that actually try to do this. There are some communities out there where you can get information from folks, but I feel like there's a lack of walkthroughs. Like how do you actually read a 10K? And that's what we're going to be doing today. How do you read a 10Q? How do you read press releases from companies? How do you tell, frankly, the bullshit from the truth in these things? How can you tell the puffing, the chest thumping, well, we're going to do this, from the, this is what actually happened last year. This is what actually happened in the last 10 years, right? Where do you get that information? And then how do you build that information into a good, solid investing system for yourself, right? So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through this from my own perspective. I own Activision Blizzard shares. I've been very unhappy with what I've seen from them lately, but long term I see Activision Blizzard, I saw Activision Blizzard as being a good long-term investment years ago when I bought it. And so far it's been, I guess I would say, middling in my portfolio. It's not great, it's not horrible. Some of management's moves recently, particularly around the issues of equity in the office space, allegations of abuse of their employees. I knew that they had crunch, and I knew that they had issues with representation, particularly of women, and particularly minority women, right? But like to see the allegations that have been coming out, and to see the state employment board going after them here in California, and to see settlements start. I believe there's some settlements in the news. Those sorts of things are starting to come. I wanted to revisit Activision Blizzard as a company and to really get into last year's 10Q. I'm not going to be looking at the quarterly that just came out a couple of days ago. I'm not going to be looking at that right now. I might. Maybe I might. But chances are what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going and looking back at the 10K that came out, I guess 9 months ago now. About 9 months ago. Because I want to take a long-term view of the company, right? And I want to see if it still fits in my investing plans, or if I should cut back. Or with the current drop, I believe the stock has dropped recently, should I buy more? Do I believe in them enough that I'm willing to take a little bit of a risk and see if they can actually pull out of this? I think I know where I'm leaning already. I don't mean to hide the ball on anybody. I'm leaning toward cutting this back. But I did want to give a chance, and I wanted to share my exploration of this with people. So treat this as one of two things. Treat this as, hey, walk along through the 10K with me. It's going to be a long, hard slog. I'm going to go through all the pages. So be ready for that. I'm not going to make a short video here. You can probably tell from the YouTube timer on this that this is not going to be a short video. And the other way you can absorb this or enjoy this is as ASMR. I am not Jim Cramer. I have no interest in yelling at you. Not to say anything bad about Jim. Jim's fine. Jim's great. If you enjoy watching some of the more rah-rah commentators out there, that's fantastic. I am not that. You're going to get a fair amount of monotone from me. It's going to be very much like this as we go through it. And you might find that there's a lot of silence as I'm reading. And that's the process, right? So I'm going to try to take you through it as much as I possibly can. So, and I'm going to try to explain as much as I possibly can. Most people, I think it's fair to say that most people have no idea what a 10K is. And even if you invest or someone in your family is investing for you, you may not have ever read an entire 10K. I've read lots of 10Ks, but I rarely read them in their entirety. I generally will skip through pages. They're long. They tend to be very long. I think the one we're reviewing is going to be in the 80 to 90 page range. And when you look at more complex companies, they can be in the 100 to even 150 page range. So Activision, I think, is a great place to start. It has a very simple business model. It's easy to understand. So if you're trying to step in right now and trying to get a feeling for, gee, how do I actually evaluate a company as a long-term investor, as someone who wants to hold a company for the rest of my life? How should I be thinking about that company? That's how I'm approaching this. So enjoy, or treat this as just something that you can fall asleep to. That's totally fine too. Leave comments down below. What can I do to make this more calming for you? Either way, it's fine. And I'm not live streaming this yet. If people have interest in me doing a live stream where you can actually ask questions, that's totally fine. But this is my inaugural episode, so I don't have an audience right now. So I'm just going to record this and post it to YouTube, and people can enjoy it without any interaction at the moment. Cool. So if you're interested in following along, I'm going to be going out to their website and pulling up Activision. I'm also going to be kind of asking and answering questions of myself and of you as we go along through here. They're going to be kind of rhetorical questions, and some of the questions will be things that you might want to pause and go ahead and think about before I answer the questions. So, and in some cases I won't have answers to the questions. So I'll discuss that. Some of them are going to be like preferential things, like where does Activision Blizzard fit in a person's portfolio? What kind of role does it play, right? So, anyhow, let's get kicking. Let's get moving. So, to research a company and to find its SEC filings, there are two ways to do it. Right now, we're going to go through the way that I think is a little bit more fun, but not all public companies have good support for this. So you may want to learn the not as fun way, which is going through the SEC's website, which I believe is called EDGAR, EDGAR. I'm not going to do that one today. I'm going to do that one maybe for my next one that I go through, and I'm not sure what company I'm going to review for it. I haven't got a plan yet. But I will probably go through EDGAR for that pull down. But with Activision Blizzard, they're a larger company, and they have a distinct consumer presence. So they have their own website, and they have their own investor relations page. And on that page, it's fairly well organized, and you can easily get to the 10Ks, which are the annual reports They come out once a year, and they give a big rundown of everything that's going on in the company. They're longer than the quarterly reports, which are called 10Qs. And to find them, typically you will want to go to the website for the company. So I'm just Googling here, Activision Blizzard. And then I'm going to go to, you can also type in Activision Blizzard Investor Relations. Oftentimes there will be an investor relations website, but I just want to go to their main page right now, and I'll show you how I would do this if I was going through here. Oh my gosh. Yes, yes, yes. Do tell me more about yourselves, Activision. Okay, so typically what you'll want to do is you'll want to go down to the bottom of their page. And there's almost always like a list of things down here, they're hiring, all their legal stuff, terms of use. And typically there's some sort of link out to an investor relations page. In Activision's case, they have an entire little subsection here where you can jump to each of the items that they have on their site. Stock performance is usually a rah-rah page. Let's go ahead and look at it really quick, just to give an idea of what they've been looking like this year. And it looks like this is a 3-month chart. Can I even change it? It's a 6-month. Let's go to... All right, so when I'm looking at charts, I hate looking at short term. I usually like to look at either year to date if I'm kind of trying to track like what's happening this year out of interest, or my preference is anything at 1 year or above. So typically I'll look at 1 year. So this is their 1 year chart. Looks like they're actually down from where they were exactly a year ago. And then 5 years and 10 years is my main preference. So this right here is the monthly 10-year chart. And it looks like they were tracking at an open 10 years ago of 1236. And today they're opening at 78.94. I don't know what that comes out to, but I think if someone invested in this 10 years ago, they're probably happy, I guess. But it's difficult to tell because there's no comparison here. They don't offer a comparison against other benchmarks. So when you're looking at stock prices, it's always important to ask yourself, well, what else could I have invested in, right? What other things would it have made sense to invest in? And typically, a lot of folks could invest in something like an S&P 500 tracking fund, something that's got really low expenses, low expense ratios, and that would be a good competitor for almost everything. You could also have invested in a low-cost NASDAQ 100 tracking fund, and that would give you exposure to a lot of technology stocks, and those have embedded diversity. NASDAQ 100 has almost 100 stocks in it. S&P 500 trackers have almost 500 stocks in them. And so you get the benefit of a little less risk because you've got automatic diversity in those. If you're investing in an individual stock like this, you typically want to invest in a bunch. You want to invest in like maybe 30 or more of those so that you've got your own diversity in your own portfolio. Or maybe you're balancing it. Maybe you've got like half your portfolio in something like a S&P 500 tracker, and then you're taking little dips into other stocks that you might be interested in. That was how I got into investing in individual stocks myself. I had a lot of money in, I think, in either S&P or NASDAQ or whatever mutual fund I was trying to use at that point to build diversity. And then I would build out by buying individual shares of individual stocks as I went along. And then I gradually got up to the point where I am now, where I only invest in individual stocks. I have teeny tiny portions of my investments in cryptocurrency, but I don't really understand it that well. So it's, like I said, it's very, very small right now. Most of my money right now is in individual stocks. So, like I said, you can't really tell if this is good or not unless you're asking yourself the question, well, What could have I gotten by taking my money and putting it somewhere else? So while these things are helpful and they're little rah-rah pages for the companies in a lot of cases, don't worry about them too much. I'm going to jump back to, oh, actually, all I have to do is scroll up. Cool. So here are their reports and filings, and you can actually get lists of them here, but they actually do a good job, and they actually put their 2020 annual report right out here, right in public, and right in there for sort of front page. They've got a proxy statement. This is for you if you're voting on you're voting your shares and you want to know like what's being voted on. And then additional SEC filings are out here. We're going to focus on the annual report today. That's going to give us tons and tons of stuff to work on. Okay, cool. So, it used to be that having a color cover would be a red flag. But these days, it's common practice, and you'll see nicely designed covers, particularly for companies that are in the retail space, particularly for companies that have good sort of retail presences. But don't be surprised if you come in here with some companies and it's just like super simple looking. In fact, I would prefer that in a lot of cases. I don't expect there to be, pictures and bells and whistles on these things. I don't want them to be over-engineered. This should not be on the one side, I want to know how they are marketing their products. Any company that does a significant amount of consumer-based marketing. But I can always go out to their website and find that out, right? I don't want to be sold the stock here. That always makes me a little bit leery. So, a little bit of a red flag here, but not something that I'm too worried about in Activision Blizzard. This is pretty cool. Other thing I'm noticing on this page, again, this is the cover for the 2020 annual report. And this came out, well, we'll find that out on the next couple pages. But another thing I'm noticing here is they're focusing on a couple of key properties. This is Call of Duty, I believe. I actually don't play Call of Duty, so I haven't seen this photo. I believe this is World of Warcraft. And then I believe this is Candy Crush and something else, but I don't know what the other thing is. The Candy Crush is in the background, I believe. And this represents the 3 different lines of business that make up Activision Blizzard. It's actually 3 sort of subdivisions. Activision, which is represented by this Call of Duty, that's their main product. World of Warcraft, which is the main profit driver for Blizzard, if I'm remembering correctly. And then Candy Crush, and I don't know these other properties that well, but Candy Crush, I believe, is the biggest driver for King. And King, I believe, well, we'll find out what they're exactly called in a second. So they're just reminding us that they've got 3 different sort of diverse income streams here. Okay. Now we've got a little bit of a letter to the shareholders. Okay. I'm not going to read this out loud. What I am going to do is blow it up so that you can go ahead and read along with me if you would like to, but I'm going to read this silently. Can I blow this up? Yeah, here we go. I'm going to put this up on the screen. Okay, so this is their, right, they put this out during COVID, so they're talking about a time like no other. We're being tested. Oh, right, and all the, everything, all of 2020. 2020 was horrifying, and it continues to leave a mark on all of us. And they believe that they're trying to keep people connected, comfort, inspire, and draw communities together. Okay, I'll buy that. somewhat. They say they have an audience of 400 million players in 190 countries. Okay. They're thanking their employees. Us as investors. And then they're talking about their mission. Okay, this is actually important. So their mission, connecting and engaging the world through epic entertainment. Okay, it's a good mission. I like it. It's simple, it's clean, and it allows them a lot of flexibility, but it also gives them certain focus, right? So they want to be big. They want to bring people into their spaces, their entertainment spaces, and they want their entertainment to be epic. This is interesting. It's an interesting word, actually. So, like, epic. And I think that speaks to, I think it speaks to what they do at Activision and at Blizzard, but I do not think it speaks to what they do at King Digital. So that's interesting. And they're hoping to give us superior shareholder returns. Okay, so this, I know this is a 10K. I know they're speaking specifically to shareholders, and this is a shareholder letter. And they're basically saying, look, we've got a strategy. We believe that's going to give us superior shareholder returns. It's interesting that this is their last sentence, and it's not good to me. To me, it's not good. To me, the most important thing that a company can do is fulfill its mission. They're saying their mission is relevant and important, and then what they're trying to do here is they're trying to say, if we continue to execute on that, you're going to make money. I can't explain how distasteful this is to me. And as I think about it more, I'm like, ugh. I'm not an MBA. I'm a personal investor. I'm an analyst by trade, which means that I have analyzed lots and lots of marketing programs and sales programs in my old role when I worked at a financial institution. And during that time, I learned that analyzing anything is a sort of fraught process. It is definitely one of those situations where you can definitely lie with statistics, right? And you can frame things in a particular way. And this is telling me their frame is, we want to tell you how we're going to get to giving you more money. But me as an investor, what I want to see is not that, but I want to see this. I want to see their statistics on this. How are you connecting and engaging the world through epic entertainment? If I'm investing in your company, yes, I want to make money. Yeah, that's the whole point, right? But I feel like that's secondary. It should be secondary to you as management. The most important thing to me as an investor is that you as management, I want you to be focusing on your mission. That's the most important thing. I don't want you making money for yourself. I don't want you making money for the team members on the team necessarily. I want you to focus on that mission. The mission comes first. If you can focus on the mission, People will give you money. Customers will give you money. Shareholders will give you money. Focus on the mission. What happened to my annual report? Where'd it go? Here we go. So I mean, you're going to see this sort of thing in a lot of different reports, I think, and maybe we'll find a gem that doesn't even talk about this. Maybe. I don't know, though. I think most capitalistic organizations are very fixated on making you and them money. And I like to see those companies where that's downplayed, where it's not the last sentence in their big ol' front page thing. Okay. Maybe I'm just a weirdo. I don't know. All right, let's go on to page 1. So that's fascinating. So they don't number the pages the way I would expect. So this is the cover page. This is the inside cover. And then I guess those pages are 0 and -1. All right. And then this is page 1. So I'm going to read through this real quick and see what they're talking about. This looks like, is this a continuation of their letter? Just scanning through this really quick. This is really long. All right. I'm going to summarize some of these paragraphs. We'll talk about them. These are actually pretty important. This is the sort of coverage that you don't get in the 10Qs. So when you are picking up a quarterly report, typically they won't get into this much detail into the business, and they won't deliver as much history. So we'll take a little time and go through here and see how far we can get today. I think I might try to do 1 hour in here. We might have to do more tomorrow, and that's fine. This might end up being part 1. Cool. So, 1991, we purchased our stake in the company and were given the privilege of managing it. Who is we? All right, so I think they're talking about, so I was reading through this beforehand. This is Bobby Kotick and Brian Kelly, and I think they bought giant stakes and sort of, yeah, all right. So there was some sort of thing. I guess we'll learn more about it here. So this is Kotick and Kelly who we're talking about. This is the CEO and the chairman of the board, respectively, who are writing this letter. So I guess this isn't the last sentence. This is the last sentence of their sort of mission statement. All right. Since 1991, they purchased a stake in the company and started managing it. And then they're talking about their book value per share. I don't even care what their book value is. I know that this is like important to people who invest with a sort of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett style of investing. I don't even really understand what book value means, so it's not super meaningful to me. This concept of, if you had invested $1,000 20 years ago, this is what you get, 82,000. So 82 times your investment return in 20 years. That's pretty solid, pretty solid. But Activision Blizzard today is a very different company than Activision Blizzard was 20 years ago. So we'll see what the future might hold as we look through here. So, and they've given you a comparison. Okay, so if you had put it in the S&P 500, $1,000 would have given you 42 times your investment, or $4,223 over the same period. Great, that's fantastic. It would have been wonderful for them to provide this kind of transparency also, with a benchmark on their website. Just saying. Just saying. Let's see. They've said this for many years, and they're looking back at 2020, and they're glad they were able to positively impact people's lives. Cool. Their financial success comes from finding new ways to delight and engage hundreds of millions of players. All right, I got a bone to pick with this. New ways to delight and engage. Yeah. Well, we'll get to this later. So Activision Blizzard is criticized heavily in the gaming community. If you're not part of the gaming community and you're thinking of investing in Activision Blizzard, it's definitely something you should at least keep an eye on. So gamers can be very picky and angry bunch at times. They're also very sort of sticky. They'll keep buying things over and over that they enjoy, and that's great. And so Activision Blizzard will continually feed more and more experiences that are very similar to the experience you received. So when they say new ways to delight and engage hundreds of millions of players, what I assume they mean is putting out a new version of Call of Duty every year, or ish, and then putting out new expansions to things like World of Warcraft. But they're also engaged in basically giving you the same meal on a different plate. Yeah, I think that's it. The same meal on a different plate. So they're taking the formulas that work and they're trying to make them just a little bit different, different enough to make you think that you want to spend that little extra money to get that new experience. So but are they truly trailblazing? Used to be they were. But these days, I don't know. I don't know if they can say that. So let's see. Achieving this requires us to attract and retain a diverse and inclusive group of highly talented and motivated employees. Whew. Yes. And this is a key statement, right? And I think this goes to why when we were looking at the stock share price for this year, I think people, investors, believe this is true, right? If you want to sell an experience globally, you need to have a diverse set of folks working on your projects so that you don't run into cultural problems, so that you're calling out red flags early on, so that you're doing a good job with keeping up with trends in the marketplace and trends worldwide on how people are feeling about like what they want in their entertainment. And having a reputation, which they have gained this year, which has become, I think they've always had a sort of mediocre reputation about representation of various groups, right? They're big with the white guys, not so great with everybody else. But this year, like, everybody knows it because it's all over the news. And so if you're a black woman and you're looking for a place to go work, are you going to choose Activision Blizzard where like they're getting their butts sued off right now? I wouldn't. I'd want to find a place where, you know, they're being written up for being awesome. Not one where they're being written up for like, oh, you're doing another settlement? Great. Okay. Yeah, so that's rough for them. If they can't do this, if they can't right their ship, it's going to be a big problem for them, I believe. So, this is only possible if their teams share a sense of purpose and collective values. Yeah, okay. In serving our shareholders through commitment to our players, our communities, and each other. Serving our shareholders. I'm not a big fan of shareholder-focused companies. I'm actually not. As a shareholder, I actually don't care. Like, I don't want to see this. Like I was talking about above. Serve your players. Serve your communities. Serve your team. I'm secondary. I don't care. I'll come and go. Like I invested in you, yes, but I don't need you taking care of me other than, you know, give me data. Don't lie to me, right? I'll I'll find my own way. I'll decide whether I want to invest based off of the other things, based off whether you're actually fulfilling your mission. Because I'm not going to invest in you if you're not. Straight up. Okay, so they're also pleased that their continued strong business performance, their ability to generate growing cash flow, free cash flow. So I'm not going to go in right now to a definition of free cash flow, but it's basically like cash moving into the company that's not being used for capital investments. So there's a way to calculate it, and off the top of my head, I can't explain that to you. But I love seeing good free cash flow. It's fantastic. It's great, and if they can grow it, again, that's fantastic. So free cash flow basically means money that's not committed. That's how I think about it. So that's money that they could use to do something like a big research and development project, or create a new studio, or give money back to shareholders, or buy shares through buybacks or something like that. I'm not a huge fan of that. Like when I invest in a company, I don't necessarily want to see them giving me dividends, unless. All right. There are some companies I'm okay with giving dividends out, but I'm making a decision. I'm making a decision going like this is a dividend choice for me. I want them to keep giving me dividends. In the case of Activision Blizzard, I feel like they're not at the point where they should be giving out a lot of dividends. I believe they actually do. I might be wrong about that. We'll see as we go along. But I don't think the dividend is very large yet compared to their share price. And I don't know if they do share buybacks. I guess, again, we'll find out as we move along. So, durability of fully owned portfolio, intellectual property, yeah. And they've got a good credit rating at A minus or A negative or whatever, however you say that. It always makes it feel kind of weird to me that it's an A minus, but okay. I don't exactly know how these work. Cool. It is also notable here that they have a fully owned portfolio of intellectual property. So this is actually great. You do get into some problems sometimes with companies who try to license things and then make stuff off of them, right? So if you're too much into licensing, then if you lose that license for whatever reason, you can't keep going, obviously, with that thing, right? So if Disney, which I own, by the way, is a company that I own in my portfolio. If Disney was to license Spider-Man, along with Sony, which I do not own, I believe Disney and Sony have that's too complex. Let's not talk about that. Let's talk about something that Disney owns straight up. Let's take Captain America, for example. All right, so let's say they want to make a Captain America game, and they want to license that out to someone else. They can go ahead and pull that license back at, the engaged point, the whatever point is allowed by contract. And that company that was working with them making that thing, they're not able to make any more Captain America stuff. That's a risk that they're taking, right? So that gaming company could have made their own Captain America-like game, right? Oh my gosh. Gotta turn off my notifications here. Captain America-like game, just not call it Captain America, not have it look like Captain America. Right? As long as you're not getting sued by Disney, you're good to go. And then you can own that. But again, you don't have the power of all the other licensing and all of the other co-branding and all that stuff that goes into and all the movies and all of the comics and all that, right? So you don't have that history. You don't have any of that helping you with it. So you're trying to basically build a brand on your own. What they're saying here is that they actually own a portfolio of stuff. Call of Duty is theirs, as far as I know. World of Warcraft is theirs. They don't have to license those out to anybody else. Sorry, they don't have to pay licensing fees to anyone else for those things. StarCraft, for example, game I love, they own it completely, right? So they can do whatever they want with it. They can make movies, comics, more games. They can tell all kinds of different stories, and they own all the rights to do whatever they want. That's fantastic. I love that in a company. It gives you optionality, right? And it means you don't have to be great at everything. If Activision Blizzard doesn't want to write comics, they can farm that out. They can license it out. If they don't want to make movies, they can license it out. They tried this with World of Warcraft. It didn't go down particularly well with folks, with audiences, but I think it's going to happen again. I think it's probably going to happen again. And I think eventually they're going to crack the code and they're going to be able to start making decent game movies, which I am pretty excited about. Or television shows. Or other things, right? Cool. So more about 2020. It was difficult, yeah, to say the least, for all of us. Unprecedented challenges, yes, yes, yes. We're going to talk about this more when we get to the risks section. And the teams around the world showed ingenuity and resilience. I should hope so. And they were putting their players and fans first with compelling content and experiences. I gotta say, I think if companies like Activision Blizzard hadn't done a good job of keeping their servers going and keeping players happy during this time, it would have been so much harder for everybody, especially with folks stuck in place for so long. So I guess what I'd like to say is thanks to the team over at Activision Blizzard. If any of you are listening to me, thank you. Especially for the folks who are like keeping these servers up and probably literally risking your lives going into the office, especially early on in the pandemic when we didn't really understand what transmission was like, what death rates were going to be like, what infectivity would look like. Thank you for kind of keeping the rest of us sane. I was playing a lot of StarCraft at this time. So great. Thank you very much. Like, you may not think that going into the office and keeping a server running is like super important when you're trying to keep like a Hearthstone server alive. But to those folks who were taking comfort in that stuff, I think it was actually really important. So thank you. Thank you very much. So they had record-setting results in 2020, it looks like. I guess we'll hear about that down here. Net bookings of $8.4 billion, 32% higher than the year prior. Net bookings means... All right, so net bookings is something they're going to be talking about here. I don't believe that net bookings is a GAAP measurement. What I mean by that, all right, so there's GAAP and non-GAAP. GAAP stands for Generally Accepted Accounting Principles. So these are basically numbers with names that have been named by the accountants organizations in the United States and elsewhere, and they're basically rules that we use for how do we calculate certain things. Revenues, income, expenses, those sorts of things. So when you look through a filing, if you see a number and you're like, what is that number? It will... You can look it up, and you'll know that if it's a GAAP number, let's highlight this. If it is a GAAP number, you'll be able to tell what it is just by going out to like Investopedia or Wikipedia and like looking up what that number means and how it can be calculated. But non-GAAP numbers, you have to really read. You got to read the fine print, and you got to read these footers to figure out what they actually mean. So let's look at net bookings, because I don't know this one. Net bookings is an operating metric that is defined as the net amount of products and services sold digitally or sold in, hyphenated, sold in physically in the period. I don't know what that means. I'm assuming that it means that it was sold to a physical distribution network, or I don't know if it means that or if it was sold to a customer directly. I guess it doesn't really matter that much, and then these include license fees, merchandise, publisher incentive, and other things. Well, that's okay. But license fees, merchandise, and publisher incentives are probably the largest pieces here, I guess. I don't know. They're being very vague, so I don't actually like this number, net bookings. I'm assuming they use this internally as well. So if so, that's fine. It's interesting, but I'm gonna say this is possibly a bullshit number. So whenever you see non-GAAP things or ratings that a company has created for themselves, watch for bullshit. So my bullshit meter is starting to tick up here, especially when they're starting to tout things in their record-setting results, and the first thing they're saying is non-GAAP this, non-GAAP that. I don't care. I don't care what your non-GAAP things are. So non-GAAP generally means we don't like, if you're highlighting non-GAAP in your report, it usually means we don't like our GAAP numbers. They don't look really good. So we're going to make up some other things, and we're going to highlight those instead because hopefully they'll make us look better most of the time. So they have non-GAAP operating income. And this is interesting, right? So there actually is a GAAP operating income, but they're not using that. They basically modified it somehow. I don't know how they modified it. They're not explaining it here. And they're saying it grew 47% year over year. Non-GAAP earnings per share increased 39%. And then they make a note here saying, hey, it's important to know how these reconcile to actual GAAP numbers. Yeah, you think? But you're not even telling me what the GAAP number is here. So be very, very skeptical. Be very skeptical when this is what you get in a write-up. Just so you know, I typically will not read these, especially if it looks like this one. I typically will skip right down to the financials when I'm reading through a 10K or a 10Q. I will start at the financials and I will read, I think section 1 of the 10K, where they have a little bit more definition to what they have to put in there. It's more about the business and less about like chest thumping by management. There's a lot of chest thumping by management here. It's like 4 or 5 pages of chest thumping. I'm going to slog through it though, and let's see how far I can get before I get impatient. Might have to pause and take a break. I've been talking for 53 minutes so far. Yay! Okay, so results of 2020 and success over 30 years. Say we're good. Sure. Demand benefited from shelter at home. Yeah, you think? Let's see. Returns on investment continue to expand reach, engagement, player investment. Okay, yeah, I guess so. Gamers are becoming more deeply invested in their franchises and playing fewer games for longer. I can say, as a gamer myself, I actually am doing this as well. I've been spending a lot of time playing StarCraft 2, and I've been spending a lot of time playing the re-release of Mass Effect, and that's to the detriment of me buying other things and playing other things. And I've been playing these things for a lot of hours, a lot of time. So they're not making a whole lot of money off of me, the gaming industry right now. I've found some of these games that really make me happy, that I can kind of glide into really easily, and I just kind of live in them. I think a lot of folks are doing that as well. So let's see. They say they've got the most popular, some of the most popular entertainment franchises. I would agree, in my opinion, from what I have seen. Few franchises generate over $1 billion in annual net bookings, and today they operate 3 of them. So they're going to say Call of Duty, Warcraft, and Candy Crush are the big 3, over $1 billion. Wow, I did not know Candy Crush was over $1 billion in whatever net bookings meant. That's huge. That's very interesting that they're calling it out as equivalent to Call of Duty and Warcraft. Wow. Okay. Because I don't play Candy Crush. I do not know much about it. We'll see. We'll see what they say about it later on. So each had good 2020 performance. Yeah. Teams are working in difficult, and they're trying to make content for Diablo and Overwatch. I was pretty upset at their Diablo announcement that they're doing a new Diablo game for mobile, but then they weren't going to do it for computers, and I don't know if that's changed. PCs, like I played Diablo and Diablo 2 on PC way back in the day when they first came out, and I did enjoy them, but I'm not a super fan. I played Overwatch a little bit, but again, I'm not a super fan of that either. I'm glad to see they're building them out, but I don't know if I'm going to be playing them myself. And they say they're developing promising new potential franchises. I should hope so, but I feel like they haven't. I feel like it's been a long time since they've announced something big and new. Last thing I feel like they announced that was new, I don't know if it was Overwatch or if it was Hearthstone. I think they came out around the same time as each other, but since those, I don't think there's been anything big or new. Okay, so they expect to have at least 2 more billion-dollar franchises in their portfolio in the next few years. That's interesting. Okay, cool. So they've got at least 2 in the hopper that they think are going to be big. Maybe this is what they're talking about in terms of their new thing. That's fine. And they think they see a big opportunity for audience and revenue and earnings expansion. Okay. And they're going to talk a little bit about their COVID response. So, all right, this is interesting. This is actually interesting to me. Let's see how detailed they get into this. So you can tell a lot about people by how they care for others, particularly how they treat their employees. And when I'm evaluating a company, I love to see companies that are interested in giving their employees great places to work, great pay, where they feel like they're contributing well and safe, So I want to see that this is pointing us in that direction. Also that they're taking care of the environment. Looks like they're talking a little bit about reducing plastic and stuff like that. That's cool. All right, so digital nature. So they can deliver joy, safe entertainment, social engagement. Okay, they're converting to fully digital business. That's fantastic. So they're basically, I did not realize that they were aiming for a fully digital business. This is good. I am pretty much done with the whole idea of plastic boxes in stores. I think they're still going to probably advertise it in places like big box stores and maybe even supermarkets or some sort of like gaming stores and things like that. But I wonder if what they're going to do is something more like, hey, I've got this cardboard card, and if I scan this, it will get me something special with the game or something like that. It'll give me the game download plus a bonus or something like that. Maybe that's what they'll go for sort of in-person sales. Because, I mean, there's always that market for grandma who wants to get a gift for their grandkid, and they're like, I don't know how to buy a game for you, but I can go to, say, Target, which I do not invest in, and I can buy a thing for Call of Duty for you, and I can say, here, go shoot other people online. You'll love it. Which, of course, is what all good grandparents should be saying to their grandkids, right? Go shoot other people online. That's sarcasm, by the way. You'll learn more about me as you listen to me more, but you'll note that I say things in a monotone way, and that's just how it works. So they have sustainability goals. I don't know what those goals are. I wonder if they're going to be highlighted here or if they have a different report on it. And they're trying to reduce the use of plastic packaging. Again, I'm hoping they're going to get rid of all their plastic. I think they could do that. Well, all right. Maybe not if they do toy sales and merchandising sales. They might have a problem with that. I mean, I'd love to see them getting rid of plastic altogether. There's no reason why you can't have your merchandising be in a paper box. It's just that I think there's a lot of marketing research on how things sell better when they have a clamshell, a plastic clamshell on them, and you can actually see the toy. But I hope they're aiming to eliminate the plastic as much as they possibly can. I think there's a space where you can like have toys visible in a box through holes in the paper box instead of using a clamshell. I'm hoping. Well, we'll see. And they don't have a lot of toys. Like I've never seen well, I have seen some of their toys, but they're not really like the kind of things that Hasbro would make for like the G.I. Joe franchise, for example. Or I do invest in Hasbro, by the way. Or like Star Wars for Disney, right? Okay, moving on. Got a lot of enthusiasm from players, commitment, yada, yada, yada. Capital support, health and safety, top priority. They launched several initiatives support vital groups. So they went to a work from home model by mid-March 2020. Fantastic. Very proud of them for doing that. Very nice. One of the things I'm going to look for from them in the news is to see if they're cutting people's pay because of remote work. I read an article about that recently. I don't want to go into it too much, but I feel like companies that cut pay even though they have sent you home, I think that it looks bad and it is bad. I think it's a horrible, horrible thing. Because when you work from home, the company has less wear and tear on their offices. They may not need to have a physical space for you anymore if you're permanently at home. They do not need to do things like clean your office as much. They don't need to have as much toilet paper, or, they don't have to buy as much food for lunches and stuff like that because you're at home. All those expenses are on you. You're cleaning your own toilet, right? So if you used to have 80 people in the office and now 40 of them are working at home on a semi-permanent manner, you have a lot less wear and tear. You could probably reduce your office space quite a bit. It reduces expenses for the company already. If you then insult your team members, insult your employees by saying, oh, now that you work from home, we're going to pay you less, well, that's a bad look. And I think it's horrifying, particularly when a lot of these folks who are going to be doing remote work may be folks who are women, right? And the reason why they want to do their remote work is so that they can take care of kids, or just parents in general, guys, women, whoever. If people need to go take care of their kids at home and they can work at the same time, that's fantastic. That's a benefit to everybody involved. It means you've got parents working for you who have the view of parents. Like if you're in a gaming company, you want parents. You don't want to exclude those people. You want to bring them in, because parents, by definition, have children. Children play your games. You want these people there. You don't want a bunch of nerds in their 20s all working for you who are like, I'm a 20-year-old gamer. No, you want people who know what it's like to have a kid in the house who wants to play a game. You want a diversity of these folks. Anyway, I'm kind of going off here. Like, I don't actually see any red flags here right now. This is actually good. I'm just worried. I'm worried because I see some bad trends happening. Let's see. When medical services came under huge demand, they created an enterprise-wide global network of physicians to help ensure that their employees and families had access to best medical care. This is fascinating. I had no idea they did this. This is great. So, an enterprise-wide global network of physicians. So obviously they don't employ physicians as a general course of matter. I'm guessing they're using some sort of telemedicine system to do this. So I'm wondering why they created this on their own when they could have gone to a company like Teladoc, which I do invest in, to get physicians. I wonder if it's because companies like Teladoc may be isolated to specific geographies, and I think Activision actually has studios all over the world. Maybe they needed something that could fit the breadth of their operation. Maybe that's why. But that's cool. That's fantastic. And they made a commitment to directly support healthcare organizations in the communities in which their employees live and work. Great. They donated $5 million to hospitals, healthcare organizations, nonprofits, vaccinated frontline workers. They're for the purpose of vaccinating people, doing drug trials, doing plasma therapies, and providing employment services. So $5 million is not a lot for a company this big. It's nice that they're donating it, but it's not very much money. So the largest public health scare in my lifetime, maybe in anyone's lifetime, who is since the Spanish flu. So, I mean, you'd have to be nearly 100 years old to remember the last health crisis that was this bad. and they decided they're going to give $5 million away and talk about it. I appreciate that they're donating it, and I appreciate that they're trying to take care of their folks. But it's almost like no amount of money would be enough to satisfy me here. I don't know. It's good that they did it. It's good that they did it. I shouldn't give them shit for this. This is fantastic. Thank you, Activision Blizzard. Well done. Well done. As a investor, I am happy that you used some of my money to provide aid. That's awesome. So, let's see. For players and fans, they partnered with the WHO for some campaign that I have never heard of. Play a part together. Okay, to promote social distancing. And then they transitioned their pro esports leagues, Overwatch and Call of Duty, to remote broadcast formats. This is fantastic. I'm glad they were able to keep these going. I know there are a lot of folks who enjoy watching these and don't necessarily play. I personally watch StarCraft games, and I'm a fan of the GSL now, which is out of Korea. So I watched that, and they transitioned also out of. And by the way, the GSL is not run by. It is run by a third party. It's run by a Korean organization. There's a lot of independent esports leagues, so it's not directly tied to Activision. But they also did this. They went to a remote broadcast format. For quite a while, or they even shut down for a little while. So that's great. Very responsible of the Activision Blizzard team. All right. Give me a little pause right here. Okay, I'm sure you won't have even noticed that, but I did pause and I'm back. Okay, I'm going to go through this a little bit more quickly and a little bit more quietly. Okay, it looks like in Asia they're back in the office as of the writing of this, which was a while ago. They've got a phased reopening going. I don't actually know whether they've forced people to go back into the office or not. So monthly they have over 400 million players across the network. That's a lot. There are what, I don't remember how many people there are. 9 billion on the planet? This is a significant amount of them. They're planning to double their audience. Interesting. Okay. They see some growth with audience expansion. I like that. But again, this is like, how? How are they going to get there? I don't know. Their expansion of Call of Duty last year shows that they can do so. That's what they're saying. Maybe so. Maybe so. There's a significant amount of expansion of digital access happening in Asia, and I also expect within the next 20 years that there's going to be a lot of digital expansion in Africa as Africa develops more. I think that's an opportunity for them long term, but not necessarily right now. talking about how successful Call of Duty is. And they expanded Call of Duty to mobile, and it's the largest and fastest growing gaming platform. Yes, yes, that is true. And they have free to play, at least that's what I've heard from what I've heard, especially in Asia. So, particularly places like India, where a lot of folks are mobile only and they don't have access to like a PC. They just have mobile devices. And then they're introducing free-to-play experiences on PC and console, and they tripled the size of the player base versus 2 years earlier. Okay, so free-to-play, I've got things to say about that, but not right now. Since its launch in October 2019, Call of Duty Mobile has been downloaded by over 450 million, not users, but it's been downloaded over 450 million times. That's a lot. That's good. It's the highest grossing game in the US app stores in the 12 months after its launch. Interesting. Wow. How can you play Call of Duty on a mobile device? Ugh. That sounds horrible. Free-to-play Warzone experience on PC and console has brought in over 100 million players since its March 2020 launch. And 3 times the number of people played Call of Duty in 2020 versus 2 years earlier. And the time spent in franchise is 5 times higher. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Call of Duty's results show that free-to-play works to extend the reach of a franchise and can also lead to strong in-game monetization. So free-to-play generally means that there are ways to pay for things. I don't know how Call of Duty works on the free-to-play and what you're paying for. So it's premium content, but I don't know exactly what that means. I want more information. Again, because I don't play Call of Duty. Life's only so long, right? You can only play so many games. I haven't played Call of Duty for years. All right. Doubling of net bookings. Premium unit sales grow. Okay, this is promising. Call of Duty established replicable blueprint. Oh, what they're saying right here is they're going to do this again. Okay. So this is a plan going forward. We're going to see more free-to-play, and we're going to see more stuff like this. Because they want to bring in as many people as possible. I guess this makes sense. In a way, this reminds me of how games like Doom and StarCraft started proliferating when I was young. I think the main, people pirated all the time back then. And so there was a lot of folks out there who just didn't pay initially, and it was really easy to pirate. And so as people aged, they ended up going, oh, it's too much trouble to pirate these things. I'm just going to buy it. I've got money now. I'm just going to buy it. I think there's a recognition in the marketplace that, look, if we give folks who can't really afford to get started on these games right now or yet a way to participate, or maybe folks who may never be able to participate in the game as a paying player, if we give them access and let them have fun in there are other ways they can contribute. They can contribute to the community by writing about it and talking about it to their friends, right? Essentially, every user you have is a bit of advertising, right? Because they can go back to school or back to the office or just to their friends and say, hey, I'm playing this game. I really enjoy it. You want to hop on with me and we can go shoot each other. Yay. Or jump up and down together on top of mushrooms or whatever it is you're doing. Those folks, they're not mooching. And I think there used to be this whole, oh, we've got to put DRM on everything and we can't provide any free things because everybody who's pirating is a moocher. It's not the case, actually. There is actually value for a company in having players who are getting a free-to-play experience. And they're recognizing that. And that is great. I just hope that they don't go to pay to win or pay to advance kind of systems, or that they don't go too far down that road, because I don't like those at all. Like, it turns me off as a gamer. So I hope that they focus on things like paying for cosmetics and stuff like that, or paying for additional gameplay, like scenarios or maps, or I don't know. It's fine if they have certain paywalls inside of it, but I think they definitely need to have these free-to-play things, and that's good. I'm glad they're focusing on it. And then they're focusing on developing great gameplay. Again, something I definitely that definitely appeals to me. That's one of the things that both Blizzard and Activision, I can't speak to King. I don't play King games, so I don't know. I think both of those organizations do a great job on the feel of gameplay. When you play, it is responsive and solid, and you feel like you're immersed in it, and like the movements feel good. Everything is nice and clicky and fun, and yeah, okay. I'm glad, and I think it proves out on the way that they develop things. Personally, for you may differ, but your results may differ, but that's how I feel. Yeah, so they're talking about how it broadens their audience. They can deliver in-game and premium content for long-term engagement, so they can keep these games going longer and not have to do the same kind of monetization they did, where they're like game every year. They can grow their communities. That's true. They're aggressively adding development talent to each team, and they intend to have almost tripled developer headcount for key franchises by the end of 2022. Interesting. Okay, so something to keep an eye on, their developer headcount. At the same time, I think earlier this year, or maybe it was back in 2020, they announced that they were going to be curtailing the development team for StarCraft 2, which used to have developers that would do updates and patches and stuff. And it looks like the only thing they're doing now is just map updates and minor things. So I think what they're doing is they're cutting down support for their older things, even though some of them may still be actively played in the communities. Well, we'll see how that goes. As a fan of StarCraft 2, I know it's an old game, but it's one of those things where a lot of people still play it. So it makes me a little bit sad that they're not developing it as much. I wonder if they're coming out with a StarCraft 3. I wonder. I hope so, but we'll see. It's not a new franchise. So it sounds like they're actually trying to build out some of these newer franchises, the two newer franchises they were talking about above. That would be interesting to see something new. Okay, so let's talk about Warcraft. Net bookings are growing. Classic mode gives you more ways to experience WoW. I don't even know what that means. What is classic mode? I don't play World of Warcraft, so I have no idea. Multiple initiatives to move Warcraft onto mobile. 100 million people who previously played World of Warcraft over the last 15 years. Okay, that's a lot. That's good. But they're not really explaining what's going on with World of Warcraft. Okay, that's a little cursory. So Candy Crush, strong growth, they say. Monthly 200 million players. Candy Crush is the highest grossing franchise in the US app stores. So, interesting. And they're trying to accelerate the pace of content delivery to add social features. What are those social features in Candy Crush? Again, I don't play it, so I don't know. And they're trying to build out King's advertising business. And I don't know if Candy Crush has like paid versions and advertised versions. So this is potentially a good route for them to make money as advertisers start to need more and more ways to get to folks who are becoming digital natives, right? So like my kids, they don't watch television. They're not consuming television ads. The ads that they do consume typically are on podcasts and YouTube channels where they're sponsored. So having advertising in-game makes a lot of sense. But to me, I hate it. I'd much rather pay for the thing. But I guess not everybody can do that. So it's cool. It gives everybody a way that they can essentially pay for something. So that's cool. Pay for a game. Pay for access to a game. But man, advertising's so annoying. Okay, so Diablo. They made Diablo Immortal. Or they're making... did they just release Diablo Immortal? I want to say they did. I don't want to go out of here and like research that right now. And it's going to be a free-to-play mobile title. This is the one that they announced, and people got so angry because Diablo was such a PC-first experience, and they wanted all these PC nerds to be happy about it. I'm a PC gaming nerd myself, so I'm not. I'm saying that out of love for all the PC nerds out there. Wow, was that a misstep? Announcing to a group of PC enthusiasts that, hey, we're not bringing the new Diablo to your platform. That was bad. And there's going to be a Diablo 4 release. Is that coming to PCs? I don't even know. Let's see. Overwatch, they're going to reinvigorate the community with the launch of Overwatch 2. My son and I were talking about this. What he's seen of Overwatch 2, he's not super enthusiastic about yet. He does play Overwatch. I don't know what this all means. There's a lot of... starting to get into the management gobbledygook here. Broaden community through business model and growth initiatives across platforms. I think their writers are starting to get tired. I get it. I'm tired of reading this. Jeez, this is long. Why is this so long? Adding players. There's a lot of words here, but they're not saying a lot. They're increasing the size of their development teams. Year-round content. Yes, that's good. Growth for shareholders. Yeah. Ugh. They keep bringing it back to this. I don't care. Safe, joyful spaces for social connection. Creating safe, joyful spaces for social connection. All right. Wow, have I got something to say about that? I'm going to read this paragraph and see what they're saying just for a second. Laser-like focus on serving players. Sure. Gotta adapt. Video games are redefined. Gaming connects people. Players engage a lot. Our games can responsibly influence popular culture, eliminate stereotypes, celebrate differences, and encourage players to embrace tolerance and understanding. Ooh. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this section. Games provide space for people to find joy and solace and community. There is a group of doctors playing Candy Crush and sharing it on a hospital computer. E.R. nurse in Kentucky who goes to World of Warcraft. And he stays connected with his friends through it. Trying to connect people in-game through social audio. Oof. Plan to introduce new ways for players to compete and socialize with friends. Oh my. All right. So much to unpack here. Oh. Okay. On the one hand, there are great communities out there for gaming. And I think that there are probably the majority of players who play in these social spaces, probably cool people. But man, is it toxic out there. And my experience, my own personal experience, and it's not like recent, I guess, I will admit, but my personal experience with the community of folks who are on audio on Call of Duty when I go play PvP, player versus player. What a group of just racist, misogynistic jerks. Oh my gosh. Like, I just... It was difficult to report people for issues. It was like, and even if I go out to something like the StarCraft chat servers, where people can go out and just talk to each other, there's just some gross stuff happening out there. Bullying, trolling. I don't feel like they've done a good job creating a safe or joyful space for social connection. I feel like if this is one of their goals, it is notable that there are no numbers here. 0 numbers. They do not have a measurement of how they are doing. There are no statistics here. They don't say that they've taken a survey of their players. They don't say that they've gone out to the community and done focus groups. They don't say anything like that. I would be surprised, greatly surprised, if they had done any of those things. These one-off explanations of, or these one-off sort of cherry-picked examples of people having fun is great. Don't get me wrong. And you can find these folks on the chat servers and stuff, and some folks are terrific out there. Again, don't get me wrong. I love my gaming nerds. A lot of folks that I've played with who are fantastic folks, and I've had some great interactions with people. That said, it gets spoiled immediately when toxic players spew their trash at you online. And I'm a white guy, so I'm not gonna be the kind of person who people are targeting as for these sort of racist and misogynistic kind of things where, like, it's it just doesn't happen to me very often. The lack of statistics, the lack of visibility into how their players actually perceive the social on their site, I feel is a huge, huge mismanagement of this. You cannot say you are creating a safe and joyful space if you have not asked your user base, is this space safe? Is it joyful? Do you feel these things? And so I look at this and I say, this is bullshit. You may be trying to do that, but you have no idea if you actually are. And creating social connectivity is something that Facebook was trying to do. Facebook, I used to invest in Facebook. I used to, but I do not any longer. And the reason why is because they created spaces that did things that I do not want to see continue. They have poor content controls. They are out there, apparently, allegedly, according to their own internal documents that were spilled, they're out there basically pumping up things that make people angry, pumping up things that make people frustrated and sad, that they're fully aware of how people's lives are negatively impacted by the things that they're doing, and they just don't give a shit. Well, it's not the same when you're playing a game. It's not the same because people are live on the air talking to you in small groups, but it can be even more personally affecting when someone harasses you online, when someone bullies you online. And there are kids playing these games, you know? This tells me management, A, doesn't care about measuring this, and B, is either lying to us about what their actual intent is, or are mismanaging their actual intent. Safe and joyful, my butt. Okay. Wow, there's so much to unpack in this. I'm definitely going to have to make a second video. I'm going to stop this at around 2 hours. So, okay. All right. Oh, and now we're getting to attracting and retaining diverse views, voices, and talent. Yeah, all right. Keep in mind, this came out before all of the recent, I believe this came out before the recent lawsuits from the state of California and individuals who are working at Activision Blizzard that have exposed their internal culture that's been so harmful. So they have two powerful assets, franchises and talent. Okay. Talking about capital management, yada yada. Current teams are progressing a rich content pipeline. They're aiming to hire 2,000 developers. Good luck with that this year. This is a nothing paragraph. Okay, they want to hire people. I guess this is important. They want to hire 2,000 people. They could have just said that. And they appreciate that they need diverse talent and skills. Okay, so they're saying things that make them sound like they get it, but they're not saying how. Let's see. So how? Recruitment practices are designed to attract talent from across society. How? Equitable, inclusive workplace, essential to success. How? Never complacent. Recognize excellence comes with improvement. How? How? What do you mean by excellence? What do you mean by not being complacent? Humility is a core value. In what way? 30 years, you've worked hard to recognize success. How? Oh, without too much fanfare and in measured ways. Oh, this year they're going to trumpet their highlight to the environment, social good, governance practices, and connecting that to shareholder value. Yawn. The report's new. Okay, actually, all right, not a yawn. All right, so this is off topic, but all right, so this is not the topic they were talking about. They're talking about hiring diverse views, voices, and talent. But down here, they're like, okay, we're actually going to be making an environmental and social good report and best practices report. This is great. I should actually go find this thing and do a separate review of it. I think every company should start doing this. This is fantastic. I hope that they continue this. Maybe that's where they'll get into the nitty-gritty of how they're actually doing this. But right now they haven't explained a thing. Commitment to communities. Okay. They've helped find 81,000 jobs for veterans. That's great. Doing what? They don't have 81,000 people in their employment. They're finding them. This is nice, but I don't understand what they're doing here. The Call of Duty endowment. Oh, I guess they feel bad for making money off of people shooting other people online. So they're like, okay, let's get jobs for veterans. That's good. I like that. Let's see. Post-active service employment opportunities continue to be a challenge. Definitely. This is something that I learned when I was working before. We were also trying to help the veteran community. They do have a lot of problems when they come out of service because it's so different in the private sector. And a lot of times they don't know exactly how to transition very well. So we tried to help at my old employer as well in our way. I don't think they were very good at it. I think this is probably better. But I don't even know what they're doing, so I don't know what they're saying. Maybe their little report will explain it. Veteran unemployment has increased at higher rates. It seems to be a good job market these days. I'm hoping these folks aren't as negatively affected. But again, I don't know how this is helping them with their diversity and inclusion in their actual offices and on their teams. Okay, so they're placing people, but they're not placing them at their own company, I don't think. This is more like a nonprofit, maybe working with their nonprofit, or I don't know. They and their partners gain special access to talented women and men through their recruiting activities. So maybe they're hiring some of these folks, but they're not explaining how many. They hear heartwarming stories. Oh, great, that's heartwarming. Let's see stats. Story. You can get stats and stories. I'd like to hear both. Okay, so this is a section that reads very differently in 2021 than it would have in 2020. This is all red flag stuff. And if you were looking at it in 2020, you would have been able to see these red flags, but you wouldn't have been able to know what necessarily was going to happen because of them, right? And I'm going to give Activision a little bit of shit here, but to be fair to them, lots of companies say stuff like this. So they are not alone. A lot of companies will talk about, hey, diversity and inclusion is important. Therefore, we're doing activities around diversity and inclusion. And they will not specify what they are doing. They will not specify how HR is reaching out to communities. They will not specify whether they are keeping internal tabs on diversity and inclusion. They will not specify whether or not they have made any progress. They will not admit to not making progress recently. They will not say, they will not show statistics. They will not track it, right? You can't, all right. As an analyst, I can tell you for a fact, people at capitalist organizations will not improve unless you track. They just won't. If something is important to you, you need to track it. If you're out there and you're a manager of a big organization, a small organization, be aware the thing that you track is the thing your employees and your teams and your managers, they're going to focus around that thing. Be careful what you track. Be very careful. In this case, again, I'm not seeing any numbers here. Other than they want to hire 2,000 developers and they have 400 million players in 190 countries. That's not it. So they have no numbers actually addressing attracting and retaining diverse views, voices, and talent. They got nothing. Just like creating safe, joyful spaces for social connection, they've got nothing. They've got net bookings, which they've talked about. They care about sales, but do they really care about these other things? And so the other shoe dropped this year, right? And it became obvious to everybody that no, they actually were doing a horrible job of trying to retain people because they were mistreating people in their own offices. Badly. Allegedly? Or I don't know, do I have to say allegedly? I guess so. But I mean, rumors, I mean, they're not being, are they being criminally charged? I don't even know. Anyway, scuttlebutt is, rumor is, allegations are that it's been bad there. Do I know these things for sure? No, I didn't work there. I don't know. I didn't experience it myself. I wish it hadn't happened. Am I fairly sure it did happen? Pretty sure. Do I think they're going to be able to get better? I don't know. Like, reading this doesn't make me feel positively about it at all. I don't feel like they actually have a plan. And this is them trying to reassure shareholders, right? This is them trying to reassure someone like me who's coming through here and going, okay, do you actually have a plan of how you're going to develop things in the 2020s and the 2030s? Do you have a way to reach out to communities of color to attract black developers and, to bring in folks from Asia and Europe? And are you going to be able to develop things in multiple languages? And are we forever going to be having the villains of your Call of Duty games be North Koreans and Russians? And like, like, are you going to finally start to acknowledge your challenges and start measuring whether or not you're getting past them? I don't see it. I don't see it. All right. This is really helping, actually. This is really helping me clarify things in my own mind. And I've only gotten, 10% of the way into this thing. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. These things are so long. So long. But admittedly, there's a lot of stuff in here. There are sections about what do you call it? How much money they've borrowed in the last quarter or whatever. We'll be skipping through those fairly quickly. So most of the meat in most 10Ks is up in the front. So, all right, let's see. Let's keep going. Consistent principles. The principles. Developing innovative and compelling entertainment experiences for our communities of players around the world. Okay. I think they've done that. I think they do that. I mean, the audiences enjoy their stuff. It seems to keep coming. That's great. Okay. Focusing on the largest and most promising opportunities. Okay, this is interesting. Basically, they're saying we want to our principles. We want to go for mass market. We want to go for big. We want to swing hard for the fences. As a business objective, I'm okay with it. I'm glad that they're stating that here. That way, I can know that if I am a fan of a smaller property that they have, or a property that is starting to shrink, I can understand that they're going to go away from that, and that's why I think people they're reducing their support for things older properties like StarCraft and StarCraft 2. Okay, I get it. They're a business. I get it. Recruiting, rewarding, and retaining diverse world-class talent. Yeah. I think that they've made a big blunder this year or over the last, I think they've been blundering for the last 30 years, and it's finally coming to the public eye. And these allegations that people are seeing, I think those allegations are starting to, as they become more publicized, people are realizing, hey, maybe I should go somewhere else. This is going to be a big drag for them. Big drag, especially if they really do want to add people this year and next. Disciplined around shareholder value. So this is sort of like code words for making sure that we're not doing bad things with our finances. And that's good, I guess. I wish that they said it like that, like being fiscally disciplined, instead of this whole shareholder value thing. To me, shareholder value is like, are you doing good things for society? Are you, do your customers believe in you? Are you serving more people? Are you making them happier? Is your community happy? Do they actually feel like, are you creating safe, joyful places? Do we know? How do you know? Like, answer those questions for me. But if all you're going to do is have fiscal discipline, say that here. Because it seems like that's all you're committing to from what I've read so far. Okay. These principles allow us to make meaningful and positive impact on our players. Sure, okay. Yada, yada, yada. New opportunities, rich library. Big challenges. Manageable challenges. I gotta say, they really had a great opportunity in 2020, and I think the expansion of their player base and the work that they did that year, that was good. And then they're thanking players and audiences and shareholders for supporting them. That's cool. That's appropriate. Very nice. Okay, Bobby and Brian. I've been critical of you. And I've also been, I think, a little bit thankful for you keeping the company going. I appreciate that. Like I said, I'm a fan. I think you can do better. Cool. All right, that's the end of the shareholder letter. Now we actually get to the meat of the 10K. Woo, woo, woo. Okay, so shareholder letters aren't always at the beginning of the annual report. Sometimes they're separate documents. I may not always read through the entire shareholder letters like I did this one. That shareholder letter was really long. I think what I'm going to do maybe is talk, maybe put a little... Anyway, this seems like it's a good place to break. I'm going to do part one. This is the end of part one, and then we're going to do a part two where we start actually going through the Form 10K. I'm going to call the last one going through the shareholder letter or something. Yeah. Okay, cool. Anyhow, let me get my outro ready. I'm so unprofessional, right? Where is my outro? So, this has been the Lazy Dragon Investor Show. I hope this walkthrough of the shareholder letter has been good for folks. I hope it's given you a little vision into how Activision Blizzard thinks, and maybe a little bit of vision into how I think and how I think about analyzing companies and the work that they're doing. And I will see you next time when I will dig into the 10K itself. We'll go into numbers a little bit more, and we'll talk about specifics of how the company makes money and how the company spends money. Thanks to everyone out there, and peace.